There is an animal that can drive a grizzly bear off its kill. An animal that survives temperatures that would kill most mammals within hours. An animal so relentless, so physically extraordinary that indigenous peoples across the northern wilderness called it the devil bear. But it is not a bear. It weighs less than most housecats at birth. And the real story of how it survives is far stranger than anything its fearsome reputation suggests. This is the hidden life of a wolverine. The wolverine, known to scientists as gulo, Latin for glutton, is the largest land-dwelling member of the weasel family, the mustelidae. But calling it a weasel feels almost insulting. What it actually is one of the most physiologically remarkable predators on the planet. To understand why, the story must begin in the deep cold of winter. Because that is exactly where a wolverine's life starts. Somewhere in the boreal forest or high alpine terrain of Canada, Scandinavia, or Siberia, a female wolverine has spent weeks excavating a tunnel system deep beneath the snow. She digs down, sometimes more than 15 feet, reaching the hard ground below. This tunnel system is called a natal den. It is not just a shelter. It is the first line of defense between her cubs and the world that will try to kill them. Late January or early February. Temperatures outside may be far below freezing, and inside that den, a litter of 2 or 3 wolverine kits is born. They arrive blind. Their eyes are sealed shut. Their fur is sparse and white, a coat they will shed within weeks. Each kit weighs barely 3 ounces. They are almost impossibly small for what they will eventually become. Can they survive? The mother wolverine produces rich, high-fat milk. This is critical. In the extreme cold of the boreal winter, calories are survival. She nurses constantly during those first weeks, rarely leaving the den. Outside, temperatures plunge. Blizzards bury the forest. The kits pressed against their mother's body have no way of knowing how hostile the world above them truly is. But something extraordinary is happening inside those tiny bodies. Wolverine kits develop faster than almost any comparable predator. Their eyes open at around 5 weeks. By 8 weeks, they are already exploring the entrance tunnel of the den, cautiously, instinctively, as if something internal is preparing them for what comes next. Biologist Robert Inman, who led a long-term wolverine research project in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, has described the wolverine's early development as uniquely accelerated, driven by the narrow survival window that the northern wilderness allows. By spring, the kits begin to emerge. Above the snow, the boreal world is alive with possibility. Meltwater streams run fast and cold. The forest floor, exposed for the first time in months, is littered with the remnants of winter's casualties, carcasses of deer, elk, and smaller animals that did not survive the cold. For the mother wolverine, this is a resource, and she begins teaching her cubs one of the wolverine's most essential survival skills, scavenging. The wolverine is, first and foremost, a scavenger. This may seem at odds with its ferocious reputation, but scavenging is not weakness. In the harsh northern environment, the ability to locate and consume frozen or buried carcasses, food sources that other predators cannot or will not access, is a profound ecological advantage. The wolverine's jaw structure reflects this directly. It possesses a specialized upper molar called the carnassial tooth, which is rotated 90 degrees in its socket. This allows the wolverine to shear through frozen meat and bone that would stop most other predators entirely. It eats what others cannot, and it remembers where everything is. Wolverines are known to cache food, hide it in snow, under rocks, in the ground, across a territory that can exceed 500 square miles for a single adult male. Researcher Audrey Magoon, who spent decades studying wolverine behavior in Alaska, documented individual wolverines returning to cache sites weeks or even months after the original burial. The wolverine's spatial memory, Its ability to navigate and mentally map vast territories of mountain, forest, and tundra is one of its most underappreciated abilities. But the cubs do not learn this overnight. The learning process is slow, gradual, and essential. Through the summer and into early autumn, the mother wolverine leads her cubs on increasingly long journeys. She shows them the landscape. She demonstrates how to locate hidden food. She teaches them how to move through deep snow using their enormous, snowshoe-like paws, an adaptation that distributes weight so effectively that wolverines can travel over powder snow that would sink most other animals immediately. All the while, danger is present. Can the cubs avoid predators? The wolverine's primary predators in youth are wolves and golden eagles. An eagle, diving at speed, can take a young wolverine that strays too far from its mother. A wolf pack, encountering a juvenile wolverine alone, will pursue it aggressively. The mother wolverine is extraordinarily vigilant. She keeps the cubs close during these months. But vigilance has limits. Wolverine litter survival rates are difficult to measure precisely in the wild. Studies conducted in the Scandinavian mountains by researcher Jenny Madison and colleagues found that juvenile wolverines face mortality rates as high as 50% in their first year, with predation by wolves being a leading cause of death in areas where wolf populations have recovered. The first year is brutal. There is no gentler way to say it. By autumn, the surviving cubs are growing rapidly. Their white natal fur is long gone. They now wear the distinctive brown coat of the adult wolverine, dark chocolate across the body with a broad, pale stripe along each flank that curves over the rump like a saddle. This coloration is not camouflage in the traditional sense. It is identity. Wolverines are not ambush hunters that rely on invisibility. They rely on persistence, on stamina that seems almost physically impossible. A wolverine in pursuit of prey has been recorded traveling 45 miles in a single day without rest, across terrain that would exhaust most experienced human hikers. Its cardiovascular system operates at a sustained intensity that exercise physiologists find genuinely unusual for a mammal of its size. It does not chase prey in a brief sprint. It simply does not stop. It follows. It persists. It wears prey down across the snow until they have nothing left. This is how it kills, not through raw strength alone, through refusal. By late autumn of their first year, the cubs, now nearly the size of adults, begin to separate from their mother. This separation is not gentle. The wolverine is among the most solitary of all large predators. The mother's own territorial instincts eventually drive the juveniles away. They must find ranges of their own. And for a young wolverine, crossing into the territory of an established adult is one of the most dangerous moments of its life. Adult male wolverines are aggressive defenders of their space. They scent mark relentlessly, using musk glands beneath the tail to deposit strong, distinctive odor on rocks, logs, and snowfields throughout their range. When a young male enters this marked space, confrontation is often unavoidable. Will it survive a territorial encounter? These confrontations are rarely fatal. Wolverines have extraordinary skeletal and muscular density for their size, with a neck and jaw structure adapted to anchor prey several times their own weight. Even confrontations with much larger animals tend to end with the wolverine retreating under protest rather than submission. But for a young wolverine still developing its adult strength, these encounters are tests. The ones that survive them learn quickly what territory they can hold and what territory they must avoid. Young females tend to establish ranges closer to their mother's territory. Young males are often pushed further, sometimes traveling hundreds of miles before finding unclaimed space. This dispersal, as biologists call it, is how the wolverine maintains genetic diversity across vast northern landscapes. And it is why the wolverine requires something that is increasingly difficult to find in the modern world: connected, unbroken wilderness. A wolverine's range cannot function if it is fragmented by roads, developments, or agricultural land. Unlike some predators that have adapted to human-altered landscapes, the wolverine has not. It is a specialist of cold, remote, intact wilderness, and this is where its survival intersects directly with one of the defining challenges of this century. The wolverine is classified as vulnerable to extinction in many parts of its range. Climate change is the primary threat. Wolverines depend on deep spring snowpack for denning. The female's ability to find stable, insulated snow tunnels in late winter directly determines whether she can raise cubs successfully. As spring snowpack in the Rocky Mountains, the Cascades, and the Scandinavian Highlands shrinks with rising temperatures, wolverine denning habitat is shrinking with it. A study published in the journal Global Change Biology, led by researcher David Inouye, found that wolverine populations in the contiguous United States are projected to contract severely if warming trends continue at current rates. The wolverine has survived ice ages, shifting continents, and thousands of years of coexistence with wolves, bears, and human hunters. It has done so by being relentless, by being adaptable within the constraints of cold, by being, in the deepest biological sense, built for a world of deep snow and frozen darkness. But no animal, regardless of how extraordinary its biology, can outrun the loss of the world it was built for. A wolverine that reaches adulthood, which perhaps half of all cubs born will manage to do, lives between 7 and 13 years in the wild. The female will reproduce for the first time at around 2 years of age, typically producing a litter every 2 years. She will den in the same mountain range where she herself was born, in the same deep snow, in the same cold. She will raise her cubs with the same relentless vigilance her mother showed her. She will send them out into the wilderness and hope the wilderness holds. And on a winter morning, somewhere in the silent boreal forest or the high mountain snowfields, a small set of tracks will appear in fresh powder, large, 5-toed, widely spaced, moving at a pace that does not slow down and does not stop. A wolverine is traveling. It is looking for food. It is mapping the world inside its extraordinary mind. It was called the devil bear by people who watched it and could not believe what they were seeing. Now we know what they were really seeing. They were watching something that refuses, no matter what the world throws at it, to stop moving forward. And maybe that is the most human thing about it.